Hey, good afternoon to everybody. Welcome to today's sharing on Vietnam market entry strategies for startups and also SMEs, what works and what doesn't work. Yeah. So very warm welcome to everybody. My name is Andy and the GM for IES INCA, and we are very privileged to have Ethan here with us as well to do his sharing on the Vietnam market and also bring you many opportunities on how to enter the market and be successful there. All right. So let me do a quick introduction to IES INCA for those who are new to us. Okay, IES is actually the extension from the Institution of Engineers Singapore, IES, and we started an incubator to support engineers who are doing tech commercialization. So IES has been established since 1966. Our mission is to advance, promote science, art, and professional engineering for the well-being of mankind, and to represent engineers as the voice of engineers in Singapore. Right, so that's IES. Yeah, all engineers are welcome to join us in IES as a member to contribute to the future of engineering. So from IES, we extended to IES INCA, which stands for IES Incubator Accelerator. Our work is to support technology entrepreneurs, mentors, investors in the venture community to build successful and sustainable technology ventures, to build these companies to provide technology products and services. So IES INCA's mission is to support these companies in their engineering translation of products and services and accelerate to market to be successful. And in doing so, we hope to see a vibrant engineering venture and entrepreneurship community that can really transform life through innovation and technology. Okay, so we started in 2019 for IES INCA, and since then we have about 23 incubators. We have supported 10 are still active with us, 80 plus mentors, 150 plus in our investor community, and about 950 plus that have attended our past events. And we continue to grow and support companies who want to scale up their business and also fundraise and also go to overseas markets in our programs. So IES INCA's USP is that we are linked to the largest network of engineers in Singapore. And also we have members from academia, private sector, and also government that we can work together. And being linked to that, we have this network of engineers that we can tap on. Next, we are also positioned as a hub for engineering-related new ventures to connect universities, polytechnics, government sector, and private sector. We talk to everybody and we want to support the growth of engineering tech commercialization. And through doing so, we hope that we can support engineers in their growth of their companies and to be a global brand in the future. So where we come in is we support companies in engineering translation support, mentorship, business support training, and we work with IES members, engineers, corporate SME spin-offs, IHL spin-offs to connect to investors, business network, and customer markets. Vietnam being one of the examples, but also to Malaysia, Philippines, Indonesia, and to east side, China, Taiwan, Korea, or the west side to the United States or to Europe as well. So many of our programs will help you in these areas. We also look out for corporate problem statements and present them to our engineers to see whether there's a fit for opportunity in growing new businesses as well. Okay, so that's our work. Companies come to us when they have done some customer discovery and validation. They need help in scaling up. So we work with them through mentorship, training, business planning, and they exit incubation when they have a successful fundraising and most importantly, an executable business plan that can bring them forward. Okay, so the areas that IES INCA focus on is infrastructure technology, building related materials, facilities management, and building processes, IoT for industrial purpose and smart cities, robotics automation, and clean tech sustainability. So these are the areas of companies we want to work with. Yeah, and we also have courses to help engineers to upskill and be better business people, technopreneurs, and also to strengthen their skill set in their personal development and growth. So do join us if you are interested in any of these courses. We will put you on our mailing list so that you can be aware of them. upcoming. Okay, some of our partners that we are working with consist of government agencies, venture capital companies, various other associations, as well as ACE, the Action Community for Entrepreneurship. These are our partners to help to grow the technopreneur space in Singapore. And while we don't have our own fund, we have an investor network consisting of IES and ISCA members who have pledged interest to invest 12.2 million. Yeah, so these are our new programs for 2023. We are focusing on corporate innovation. We want to help engineering SMEs, listed companies, MNCs, and also large enterprise engineering companies to innovate as well through our programs. And we have 3 consultants connected to help companies in digital transformation, innovation management, and also technology commercialization. Besides that, we also are looking at overseas expansion. We need to really help companies to go out to the bigger markets where they can build their customer base in a much bigger population country. So here are some of our corporate innovation consultants that we have engaged. We can connect you with them and share with you more about what they can do for you. Feel free to contact me if you're interested. Okay, so that's a quick summary of IES INCA for those who are new to us. And I'm very excited to hand over the sharing to our guest speaker for today, Ethan from Startup Junkie, who will share with you his insights about Vietnam market and also the upcoming trip that he's organizing for help Singapore companies. Over to you, Ethan.
Okay. Thanks, Andy. All right. Good afternoon. And thank you for attending this, and thank you for IES INCA to arrange for this one. As Andy said, we are going up to Vietnam at the end of the month, and we do have a program which I'll share. Right. Just out of curiosity at this moment, can I just check how many of you are interested in venturing into the Vietnamese market? Just on the answer on the chat. No, none. Okay, are you okay? Okay. So well, I think this is a typical Singaporean audience, which is very tricky if you guys are looking to raise funds. Let me just explain a little bit of myself. Ethan and my partner Eric are both partners in this company called Startup Junkie SG. We are the business reps of Startup Junkie, which is the venture catalyst arm of Walmart. And what we actually do is to help companies scale, look for companies to scale into America and the region, right? So one of the things that we are keen is always to understand how we can help companies, not necessarily, need to work with us, but we like to give advice because, venturing out of Singapore is difficult. Venturing in Singapore is difficult. Venturing out of Singapore is even more complicated because we are Singaporeans, right? So for Shafiq, right? So if you want to go to Vietnam, there are a couple of things that people would like to think about. And one of the things that we find is that many people think overseas business development is simple. Well, the thing is complicated, but it's not that complicated. So I can tell, I was talking to Andy earlier. I've been doing this for 25 years already. I'm very old. So I used to say I did it for 10 years, then 15 years, now it's 20 years, and shit, it's 25, right? So I just thought I'd share a few things about Vietnam first for all of us. And then after that, I'll talk about the lending pad program, the 2-3-day program that we're going on, a little bit of that, and then how we can help you make it more customized. And the last bit is actually what are BD strategies that you can have when you go overseas, okay? So let's talk about Vietnam. Most of us are going to Vietnam because Vietnam is doing very well. But if you actually look at the picture that I've given up, there is a lot of difference, right? There is very tall buildings, and then there are very low-lying space. Okay, so many of the places we will be visiting are actually very modern, and also in the outskirts of the city. So if you've actually been to Ho Chi Minh recently, one of the things that you will find is that the highways is very narrow from the airport to District 1, which is the center of the city. About 3 lanes on both sides. If you go beyond that into the newly developed areas, the roads are 4 lanes wide, 5 lanes wide, and there's no cars because it's all newly developed. So these are where places like, if you're visiting with us, you actually will see where NUS Enterprises, they actually have an office, a very small office, but they boast that it's very big, but it's a very small office. And you will find that it's in a very new district. Why? Because actually most of the officers, more of the younger people are moving out from the old District 1 into the newer districts because it's more convenient. There is greater accessibility to their infrastructure or the ecosystem. Okay. So what is good about that? Vietnam is a rapidly growing market with very young population. It's one of the youngest population in Southeast Asia. They are very supportive of startups. Well, let me explain that a little bit, and has implemented a number of policies for their growth. Singapore startups have a couple of advantages, including strong track record, good access to capital, and talent pool of startup founders, right? So this is something, if you're a startup founder and you think you want to go to Vietnam, yeah, it's not a bad thing. We've got quite a number of people in our circle from Singapore that actually transplanted themselves into the startup ecosystem in Ho Chi Minh. So there's some snapshots. The Vietnamese market is the second largest in terms of population. It will still grow by 6% year on year for the next foreseeable future. And the Vietnamese government is very focused on economic development. Okay, but the Vietnamese government, let me caution, it's not the Singapore government. So what this means is that they are not as savvy as knowing how to do a lot of things. Okay, so don't expect a lot of policies to be well managed. But increasingly, you see this picture of this sort of traffic jams will be more and more rare because the roads, for now, 2 years ago, they started implementing cameras. So now everybody follows red lights, more or less. Because if not, your picture will be captured. They learn from China. Picture will be captured and then you get fined. So that one nowadays, you'll find that you can cross the road safely. You don't need to risk life and limb. Okay. So you'll find that there are a lot of snapshots, there are a lot of big numbers, there are a lot of growth, they're doing very well. Sort of FDI did very well in 2019, 2020, not so good. 2021 was a peak, 2022 fell a bit because of the winter in funding. And 2023, there is a little bit of a crisis going on in terms of the economy from the property side. Right, this is good and bad. Good is that there are a lot of heavy investments in infrastructure already there. The bad is that the economy is down for a while. The good part of it is that things are quite cheap right now in Ho Chi Minh, relative to if you had to do that. Some houses are cheaper in property, for example, can be down 40 to 60% year on year versus 2022. So rentals might be something cheaper than you would have got previously. If you're looking to buy over, there are a lot of distressed companies that you can actually acquire. And then you don't have to go through the licensing or setting up a company. You can buy a ready-made company. So yeah, if you're looking in that direction, we can help you in that because it's something that our team of BD consultants can do. Okay, so what is this chart showing is that they will continue to be doing very well because of demand. They are part of what I call China plus one. If China rebound, they'll rebound faster than China. And right now you're looking at the growth rate. They beat almost everybody. Okay, so this is basically all the data I can get off the internet. So there's nothing really special about this. So what else do I see? Well, they have very strong domestic demand. And this is something that you will see when you actually go over there. If you haven't been to Ho Chi Minh recently, then you will find that we'll be doing what we call mall tours. Mall tours will give you a sense, not shopping, mall tours will show you actually where you can meet people, what kind of restaurants you can use, what kind of restaurants you don't go to, what kind of cafes you want, so that you understand when you meet people, it's part of what you can actually do, but also the sense of what they're buying, what they're eating, what they're consuming. So it gives you a chance to understand a bit of that aspect. By the way, the mall tours are very short. They're like 45 minutes. We're not meant for shopping. Shopping you do on your own time. Okay, so you'll actually see the inflation will be slightly higher, but you still this 4.8%, and it will still be less than a lot of other countries, and they are still a very big country that's growing. Just remember, there are about 100 million people. So in terms of consumer products, consumer sectors, this is great, all right? So the Vietnamese startup ecosystem, all right. There are a lot of internet companies. If you're looking for startups to pair with, there are many potential partners. I just say that the issue is therefore that many of the Vietnamese startups are really geared towards the Vietnamese ecosystem. That means they are only made for Vietnam startups. They are not necessarily at the next level where they can go regional, but that may be a good pairing for those of you who are looking for this sort of space. So we will have a briefing on the trip with Vietnam Startup Foundation, and they are one of the bodies that is part of the ecosystem. Think of them as ACE equivalent. And they also run the tech shows for all the cities. So they are all the equivalent big shows that you can find, right? So the Vietnam startup scene, they have over 3,800 startups. And they are very hot in the space because everybody wants to go in there, and then they think that there's a lot of IT thing in general. There are a lot of IT talents, there are a lot of consumers. Okay, and they will find that this is one of the issues meaning a problem, good problem and bad problem. You think the market is easy, think it's big, then you do like 1% of the market, etc. But you find it's very hard to break into this market as well, right? So the deal flow has always been consistent. The only difference is that in 2001 and 2002, people went mad. Sort of the valuations went crazy, but the number of deals is almost all the same, right? So there's still been deals in Vietnam even currently. So if people are asking me about the funding ecosystem over there, the funding ecosystem is not bad. We'll be speaking to some of the bankers, Eden Capital, well, not the bankers, but fundraisers, and they will tell you about how people are going about doing the funding for SMEs or startups. Okay. So what are some of the fastest growing areas? Usually we'll think of Vietnam, we think of manufacturing, tourism, agri-tech, fisheries, property development, banking tech, retail and consumer, technology, and of course IT. So these are the normal spaces. But knowing industry is not the same as knowing which companies or what sector to go in. This I'll cover later in the pitfalls of BD. Okay. So Vietnam is not Singapore. They are very late in industrialization and liberalization. They only started in 1998. So this means that they are like 20 years behind China. Hardworking means different things. We all say the Vietnamese are very hardworking. They also mean very different things. Okay. A Vietnamese worker thinks he's hardworking when he turns up for work on time and do no work because you never assign him work. So micromanaging, a lot of these people tend to be the biggest pain that Singaporean managers have. Because if you don't tell them what to do, they don't have a lot of initiative. Cultural issues is also because they're from different cultures. They come from a communist country, and then the big question we ask our clients is, you're going to a low-cost center where people are not earning as much as Singapore. So what's your real advantage, right? How do we help you with that? So it's a very large market, and I'm just talking about Ho Chi Minh because Ho Chi Minh City is going to split itself into 4 other cities. Right, and there'll be Tu Lok City, there'll be Can Tho, which is the port, the largest port in the south. They're all going to split it up because Ho Chi Minh is too congested, and the District 2 plus 9 will add into one new city. District 7 plus something else will add into another city, and all these things is because that they haven't been able to revive the center of the city. But after a while, they will do that once they get to another 5 to 10 years from there. Yeah. Okay. So this just picture that everyone understands where we go. When we talk about Vietnam, it is not the same as Singapore in terms of regulatory or the understanding of economics. So I'll give you an example. If you're doing consulting, and you're just saying you're doing consulting, your consultant, as a Singapore, your consultant cannot work over there without a partner because you cannot get a work permit. Why you cannot get a work permit? There's 2 problems. One is because a lot of Chinese firms are trying to get into Vietnam, and then they need workers. So if you not watch the videos, there are a lot of people waiting at the border to come across on foot, and they're waiting for the work permit. And this creates a logjam in the work permits problem. So there are a lot of consultants who were on a rolling work permit, are more consultants, Western, they had to leave the country. Okay, so there's right now a lot of demand for consultants. Okay, but if you don't have a partner, it's very hard for you to operate there even if you know there's a need. Okay, so yeah, it's a bit different for very specific industries. So yeah, there's a lot of red tape. I don't know if you know this, but they have enough solar and wind power to power the whole of Ho Chi Minh City, but it's not connected to the grid. Okay, Because why? The government monopoly on power don't like these people to compete with them. So they delay and they delay. So what has happened is the delays, if you read in the last few months, there is a problem with the blackouts in the north, right? But all these are available to fit into the grid, but they cannot fit into the grid. The Prime Minister had to go down and tell them himself, but it's not happening. All right. Next thing you know is Ho Chi Minh has a 95% ready constructed MRT station and MRT system. They just need another 70 to 80 million from Hanoi, which Hanoi owes them. Hanoi owes them about 400 million now, right? So that they can have the money to go and start operating it. Hanoi refused to give them the money or cannot give them the money. I don't know. Either way, it's the same, right? So they have a 100% functioning MRT system that will bring from the airport all the way downtown, but it's not open. So yeah, welcome to Vietnam. So you have to work around the fact that if you use the Singapore environment, a lot of things move very smoothly. The things may not move as smoothly over there, or you got to figure out your way with your partners. Okay, so basically, this is part where actually ask me any questions, but I just thought that I would pause here very quickly if anybody has any questions so far, so that before I move into the 3-day program, and then after that we'll talk about how to actually do BD overseas, specifically to Vietnam. Okay, so at the end of the month, 25th to 27th, we are bringing companies from Singapore over to Ho Chi Minh. As you can see, this is Landmark 81. Okay, and everything down here are all the condos that everybody wants to stay in. Vietnam Startup Foundation is probably somewhere here, one of the shop houses over behind this block on the left near the bridge. Right, so this is what we consider new and modern. This is where a lot of the people will be. We won't always be there. We will definitely not staying there. We're staying in District 1. Okay, but this is what we call New Vietnam. They have over 7 towers that are above 60 stories right now, and they are all over Ho Chi Minh on the outskirts and some on the inside. All right, so let's talk about the journey itself. Basically, on the program actually starts on 25th in the afternoon. Because we are not paying, the MRA doesn't cover airfare and lodging, but we will start the program around noon on 25th to allow everyone to land there and get started, right? That's for lunch and briefing, and then after that, for those who are in the startup space, we'll go to Vietnam Startup Foundation, and then the briefing on the state of Vietnam technology sector. Then we'll do a tour of the city. Now, when you do a tour of the city, it's not the usual go and see the palace. It's basically you understand what's the difference between the new modern Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh, and the old Ho Chi Minh, and what the new facility that's coming up. And then we will have a dinner and networking with the various speakers. At night, we'll go on to a chill space where, as well as the mall tour at Hotel Landmark 81, and then we'll cross over the river from Landmark 81. The Landmark 81 has a 4-story mall about the size of VivoCity below. Okay. Day 2 basically, or the SVF. So SVF basically is their equivalent of ACE, I said earlier, and they run Tech Fest every year. So if you also want to participate in Tech Fest, they will do that. They can help you get spaces or exhibition space. All right. So one of the things they do is that they're big admirers of Singapore. For those of you who know Dr. Alex Lin, yeah, the team there really admires him a lot. Eden Global, these are a very innovative small boutique investment firm with very extensive connections in North and South Vietnam. So there are a lot of projects that they fund. The projects they fund are very interesting, including net zero industrial parks, sustainable agri-tech or aquatech ventures. So yeah, these are David will not be there, but I think Mike Beda will be there. All right, so he'll give a briefing for this. Okay. Day 2 program, we'll talk about how you set up in Vietnam, what are the key things to consider, how you want to do that, and then we'll talk about how to actually hire and manage people from Vietnamese. So in case you want to hire that, can I tell you that it's not going to be easy, and these people have some tips and tricks about how to actually manage these, how you hire them, and what are the key positions you need to hire first. Then we'll talk in the afternoon, we'll talk to CIO Vietnam. For those of you who want to sell to MNC, CIO Vietnam is all the CIOs of all the MNCs and state-owned JSCs in Vietnam. So they have about 300 members. They're all the who's who. So everyone will be there. So the CIO Vietnam not necessarily the members will be there, but they'll do a briefing, and then you can understand how you want to work with these people and ask for more details and see how you can actually connect with CIO Vietnam Secretariat as a beachhead and bridgehead into the Vietnamese MNC space. Right, and then we'll be meeting out at Singapore Chamber of Commerce Vietnam, who will either host us in his office, or we would go or he would just join us for the dinner. Then we go out to the bar street. So just show you that Vietnam, there are different things in Vietnam that is different from what we think Ho Chi Minh is like, from the normal pho by the road. Okay. So Colin Blackwell actually runs Hyperion FinTech. He is a FinTech specialist, but he also sits on the Prime Minister's committee on HR, right? Because he is an early HR pioneer in Vietnam. He's been in Vietnam for like 30 years, so he's an old hand in this. Okay. Right, CIO Vietnam, they are basically the Vietnam organization that we spoke about it, that represents all the MNCs in that space. In doing all the CIOs will be there, so all the tech people will be there, right? So if you actually want to run a program that actually talks and sell to MNCs, yeah, this is one of the places that we will be gathering, talking to them. Singapore Chamber of Commerce, this is actually very new because they merged two chambers. The head has agreed to speak with us. He's actually a lawyer, so you can ask him about Singaporean. So you can talk to him about how to actually, what are legal requirements, what are legal things to just different. He can speak to you in general. He won't go specifics because he's a lawyer. So lawyers usually have to charge money before they go into specifics. But yeah, you can talk to him what's the difference in the legal treatment and what do Singapore firms do and so on. Right. So day 3, this is something I will tell you. If you are coming with us, and you all should also go to LinkedIn or create your own meetings, because there are some things that we can help you with. There are things that we may not be able to help you with, right? So some of if you want to, you can meet with our startup BD consultants, in-country consultants, and then you evaluate whether you want to work with them or they understand what you want to do, and then you also sense what business you're in, and then you can talk to see whether they can actually, or we can actually represent you with these in-country BD consultants. These are all covered by MRA, by the way. So it's 50% of the fees, or their fees are covered if you're applying through MRA. Then after that, it's entirely really open up to you because we don't really have a very fixed program. But I'm going to still be in Vietnam until the end of the week. So I'll spend about a week in Ho Chi Minh. So if there's anything that you all want us to work with us or want us to actually help you look into, I can see if I can help you based on the contacts that we have, right? So that's the program. What's the fee for the program? Every company is about 2,000 Singapore dollars, and every additional person, that means if you have 2 people in your company going, is 2,002, right? Airfare and hotel not included, right? If you're keen to explore this, let us know later. And Benjamin, Andy, myself will be there to see if we can have a conversation on this before the end of the week, because we are due to fly on the 25th. I'll be flying on the 23rd. So this means there's not a lot of space to get this done, because it's covered by MRA. So actually $2,000, 50% will be covered by the government. That's for you to know. Okay, so there's a process step for that. Yeah. So yeah, this is all the simple data. Okay. Although we had a closing date on 30th June, it's just by the way that we are doing this lending program. Yeah. Okay. Okay, let's go to my favorite topic, overseas business development, how to be consistently successful. Right, I've been doing overseas BD since 1998. So that makes me very old. And I've almost been doing BD. I've also worked in 7 startups, also doing BD, including overseas BD. So doing local BD and opening up new markets, right? So I gotta tell you how to be consistently. One of the things I've learned and why me and Eric operate in this space, right? So I have a lot of well, I won't say that. I'm very familiar with a couple of countries. I'm familiar with Malaysia. I'm familiar with Taiwan. I'm familiar with 3 cities in China, and more like 3 cities in Vietnam, because Vietnam is very long, right? North, south. So Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh have different cultures and different systems, and also different economic setups, right? So one of the where is the slideshow? Oh, maximize, right? Okay, so this is what I do find. Overseas business development, companies that we talk to in Singapore, a lot of us don't do overseas business development very well, right? They actually do things backwards from my perspective. What they want to do is they want to do a channel strategy. They want to go and find a partner, and then they want to get a partner to sell their products, and that's it, right? This doesn't mean this is because they don't understand what's the go-to market strategy to link with the channel strategy. How come? This is very weird. Because first, I think they want to set up their own business very quickly. And a channel strategy is to allow you to build the market until you can set up your own operations. Okay, why? Okay, so this is the rule of channel partners. Channel partners are supposed to develop it for you until you have enough business, then you replace them. Go and ask Cycle and Carriage. They built Mercedes-Benz, and then until it was big enough, then Mercedes-Benz come and take over. So of course, this is your objective. Their objective is, of course, not so stupid, right? Their goal is to grow it slowly so it's profitable, and so that you don't want to replace them because it's too slow. So you always have to understand the channel strategy to grow in a market that is going to be your next growth market. You have to be very hands-on. So there are 4 things that we think that most companies fail in this space, right? So what are common mistakes? 1, I have a great product. Okay, my product is very good, sell very well in Singapore. So definitely it will do well overseas. The other one is overconfidence trap. We think that the job is not that difficult. And then the next one is what I call a no channel strategy. Really no channel strategy. And the last one is for MNCs we consult with, this called inertia. That means they keep to the same partner all the time because they're comfortable. Okay, so I'll run through these 4 and then how we can avoid them. So the first one is a great product trap, right? So I have a great product. Okay, I'm sure all of you have great products. You all have good customers, and then I think the customers love you a lot. Good. So we ask our clients, the first thing is, I don't care so much about the great product. I want to know where the demand is. How do you know where the demand is so that we can actually help you scout? So why would people pay a premium for your product? It's not because you're a great product. Why is the problem you're trying to solve? Why would customers in a low-cost country, because you're doing overseas BD, unless you go to America or you're going to Europe, why would customers in a low-cost country pay a premium for your product and service? So I get to think, right? So in the end, really, the main question is, what problem do you think you're trying to solve over in, say, Vietnam? And why do you think it exists? How do you know that? Now, here's the thing that many people don't understand. And this one is something you need to think about. And this is if you don't have this in your vocabulary, in your business vocabulary, you should have, right? Many companies think that they are here, right at the bottom. That means they're ready to go for a contract. They're going to sell the product as is, and then they just find the right distributor, and then that's it, all right? But actually, they are there. They actually they haven't figured out the idea to market fit. That means the market understands what are you trying to do, how to use your product. If not, then you need to figure out where the demand drivers are. If they already know, then it's probably quite an okay market for you to enter. But if not, then it's something you need to do education, or you need to find the right one, or reformulate the way you do things. Then you go to a GTM, go to market strategy. If these are things that this sounds familiar to, yeah, it's part of the INCA program, right? Go to market, product market fit, right? But the first one is really, does the idea of your market fit there? So I'll give you an example. You'll hear a lot of things like in Singapore about startups called like chok ah. It makes a lot of sense in Singapore and Malaysia. And Malaysia had things like fuyo. Okay, it makes no sense in Vietnam. Because that phrase got no sense, makes no sense in Vietnam. So this is the problem when even the brand idea doesn't translate well into that market. By the way, one of the biggest e-commerce is in Vietnam is called Chotot. Doesn't translate well in Singapore either, right? Say, hey, Chotot, you be like, Chotot is what, right? Because it doesn't translate well. So you have the same problem because we think that we do it well here, we'll go over there. So what we actually will help our clients do is that, okay, let's go and understand where the demand drivers are. Okay, current demand drivers and future demand drivers, because you're looking at a growing market, right? So a growing market will evolve. So what are the current drivers and future demand drivers? Do you have to reformulate it? Do you have to repackage it? So this will require market research, done by a proper market research team, not just go around walking around there. And then a qualified BD consultant that understands some of these partners to have discussions with potential partners so you get a feel of the market. before you do that product market fit or go to market strategy. The second one is I just need your network. I just need to find people that I can sell. Okay, let me put it this way. I've got a lot of startups we mentor from other tracks in Singapore, from Pixel and everything, and they go over there, and I've got a case study later. I'll tell you, right? This guy went there for 6 months, got nothing, got absolutely nothing. He stayed there for 6 months and could get nothing. Okay, so here's the thought. Earlier I was just saying you're familiar with Hon Hai and Foxconn. So Terry Go is a very driven guy. He spent 11 months in America, knocking on doors every day, cold visits, cold call, often had to be escorted by security. Okay, at the end of it, he got enough $1 million contracts to go away. He's super intelligent, super hardworking, super aggressive, right? But still had to invest 11 months to get what he wanted, mostly on the East Coast. Most Singaporean companies I speak to says, I want to go a 3-week to Vietnam or Indonesia, then I want to come back with contracts. Not happening. You don't know enough. You haven't worked hard enough. You haven't immersed yourself in the market. So I'll give you an example. We run for Startup Junkie in the US, and we're part of the Walmart ecosystem. So what does it mean to be Walmart ecosystem in America? It is that if you actually went to Arkansas with us, you will realize that within 3 kilometers of Walmart headquarters is 1,500 of the largest consumer brands in the world's HQ, because they have to be with Walmart, because Walmart is the biggest retailer in the world within shouting distance. So if you work with us over there, you can reach out to 1,500 of these consumer brands. Then there are, within another 5 kilometers, 10,000 brands trying to break into that space. Then you have logistics brands, shipping brands, marketing tech. Everybody is concentrated in that space. This is success. But if you're actually going to fly there for 5 days, there's not much Startup Junkie US can also do for you. There's only like 6 meetings, right? And it's like hit miss up. So if you don't spend like 6 months or 3 months over there, you don't invest the time, you're not actually going to get a lot of traction. But if you also spend 6 months there without privileged access, without qualifying, with people helping you qualify, it's also very tiresome. It's also very tiring, and you can end up with nothing. Okay. So the last one is, what's your channel strategy for your current market state? So we ask people, so what do you want? You always see what's your key objective for your channel strategy in 6, 12, 18 months? Answer, always sales. I just want sales. More sales. Okay, so this is a red flag. Why? Because when we evaluate suppliers for our clients, we have a very thorough checklist. We find out the financial strength, sales strength, product lines that they have, fit, whether their channels, their reputation, their sales performance, quality or demonstrated product. There are over 25 variables. I only listed about 20. 25 variables we assess. And usually 25 got another 5 or 10 more sub points to actually evaluate. That's channel strategy. This is what you should be thinking as a company. Don't have to go and implement and check everything, right? The other problem is you find somebody who's good. All of it is 10 upon 10. Why do they want to work with you? Because it's all boils down to channel power, right? Because if they have more channel power, they can squeeze you. Right? And if you're a no-name brand, then they, if you're a big brand like IKEA, wow, they work with you, then you can squeeze them because you got more channel power than they do. So this is very unusual, because one of the things that you will be trying to find as a small company is what's the right kind of channel partner that's willing to work with you. If you can work the best, you just relegate you to the most junior BD person on the ground. Why? Because you don't have a lot of business with them, and it's a high risk, right? So it's just an add-on. So I've got people who say, I want to go to America, find distributors. I say, what's your channel strategy? Oh, can Walmart help us with that? Well, I mean, the Startup Junkie thing can help you with that, but you have to be very clear what kind of distributors you're looking for. What are the margins you want to give up, right? So last one's inertia. This is for large companies. So I think a new CFO friend of mine, he works for a very large MNC. He says, hey, how to increase, profit? I said, okay, I mean, just give you a very cheap one. I got you all drinking, right? And I'm not, he didn't hire me. I asked you to go and audit the channel partners and think how to set up your company subsidiaries over in the countries. So what he found was that by replacing 3 exclusive channel partners in Thailand, Malaysia, and Indonesia, sales went up 4 times, profit by 8 times. How come? Because they never audit their client. They never audit the market. So these people thought like, wow, very hard to sell. But they were charging very huge margins, which they didn't see, because there's a supplier price and there's a market price. So That's by inertia. They didn't evaluate, and this is what happens when companies sometimes make the mistake of being very comfortable and don't want to do the extra hard work to actually find. Remember, your objective is to actually make Vietnam, Indonesia, whatever it is, one of your key markets, and eventually you want to find your people there. So you have to always find out how you want to upgrade, demote, audit, or replace your channel partners until they give you critical mass, until you can replace them. Okay, this is just business. I mean, it sounds bad, but this is just business. So in summary, how to succeed in overseas expansion? You have market discovery, have a plan, commit to resources, build a channel strategy, and then review and audit, right? These are all very basic steps. You can find in any channel strategy book, guidebooks and stuff like that. But you'll still find it hard. How come? You don't have privileged access. You have nobody over there. You have nobody to introduce you. Now we talk about Chinese, we have 关系, right? So 关系 is actually getting somebody to introduce you to someone, usually for a fee, right? And how to pay the other person if it's government. So there's no market validation and then research. Because you don't know who to go and ask for that, and you end up with all expensive one. Because we read, for example, you go to Vietnam, we tend to work with only American brands because we read English. If I give you a Vietnamese brand, it means nothing to you. So there's no context for you. So this is a problem because if you don't have people on the ground that advise, hey, there's a very good SME doing this one, a Vietnamese SME, they speak English, not Ang Mo level, but they speak good enough English and they're professional enough, then they have the track record to show you. This gives you a chance for actually partnering up with them, right? Then the next question people have is, why would anyone have you for free? This is very important. So remember I told you about this startup that went over to Ho Chi Minh and spent 6 months there and got nothing. So they met me, I think this year in February, and then they were, because we were mentoring them in the venture stage, and they say, okay, so they just have a chat. He says, Ethan, how are you doing so well? I said, I'm not doing well. I mean, like very modest, I'm not doing well. She's still working hard, blah, 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 blah. But really, I have a team of BD people working for me. So this is, but this really gives me privileged access. I understand what projects to do, what project to ignore. So we evaluate them and then we work very closely. So I said, can I use your people? I said, well, you have to pay. So can we talk contracts or what? Said, no, I just, can we just network? I buy them coffee. So I was very polite. My BD people are professionals. They're not going to do anything for free. They don't do it for me for free either. So this is where you actually have to understand that sometimes you need an investment. But the question is who you're going to pay, right? You don't want to pay the wrong person. So yeah, so one of the things that we do with people is that we help people evaluate all the BD consultants, get you a meetup and see whether you want to do that. And the beautiful thing is it's all covered by MRA, the Market Readiness Assistance Grant by ESG. Okay, the Singapore government is super generous. So if you know how to use it, you can work with Andy, me, and Benjamin to actually figure this out for you. So we are bringing our companies over there, and this is what happens, right? So it will be, the landing pad mission will be, it's exploring, but we also have our own companies going over there to do BD. And each of them, you probably will not see most of them, maybe except at dinner. They all have a curated 3-day program because they are all assessing the market for their own verticals. Gaji will means go there and see. And they're all accompanied by one of our in-country BD consultants on different days or different consultants, right? What they're doing is assessing channel performance and prospective channel partners with the BD consultants to also assess whether you want to hire the BD consultants. Remember, 50% of the qualifying cost is with the MRA grant. So someone said, can you help with hiring? I said, why? You should hire a BD consultant, or BD consultant know who to actually hire and bring in. And if they fail, because there's a higher chance of the hiring rate for an MNC is, if you hire 7 people, 1 will be good. So it's not going to be cheap, right? This is MNC hiring rate in Vietnam. So why don't you assess whether you want to work with which BD consultant or BD consultants, and then let us know. And then they will be on the people on the ground helping you figure out all these things, or getting meetings for you, or redoing the basic recruitment work, or finding agents for you. So this is what they'll be doing. They're assessing also the market research team with the BD consultant. That's their job for the next 3 days. So that's really a landing pad program. So what we like to do, I mean, Andy and Benjamin and I were just talking earlier, is this: if you're interested in coming, have a quick chat with us by the end of this week, because it's only 2 or 3 weeks away, and then let us understand a little bit of how we can help you, and then let's see whether there's a good fit for you and the landing pad program that you're going that we're offering. Okay. So yeah, that's it for me. This is the presentation. Okay. So as Andy said, leave the question to the last. So any questions?
Okay. Thank you, Ethan, for that sharing. I think very interesting how you put BD, how you put going to overseas markets in such a clear format of understanding of the pitfalls and what people need to do about it. Yeah. Maybe just unshare your slide, then we can have a bigger screen.
Okay,
Yeah.
let me just go screen share, stop share. Yeah.
Okay. So maybe now we open up the questions to the floor. Anybody has questions? If not, I also have many questions that Ethan's sharing has triggered. Yeah.
Why don't you ask first? I'm open to taking any questions either on the chat or verbally. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So we know the market is big, but access seems like we need to go through network. We need to go through people who are connectors and business development people, right?
You
Yeah.
don't have to. It's just a different journey. And I think I don't want to insist that you have to work through Startup Junkie and Andy for the audience, right? If you think that we don't understand your business, if you don't have to, right? If you feel we don't understand the business, your business or your market access, or we are the wrong fit for you, there are other market entry specialists you can work with and also understand. But rather that you also start thinking about working with these specialists as opposed to just going in blind on your own. The other thing is that, are they actively doing BD, or are they just connecting you and giving you name cards, right? If they don't qualify, they don't ask you a lot of deep questions. It's probably one of the things that just to give you name cards and then you're on your own, right? Which is not what I like, because the market is very big. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Right. Is language a problem? Like,
Yes.
we only speak
stop.
English and
Their English is very bad. Okay. Their English is poor because it's not really their first language. If you are coming with us, you will meet some of our consultants. I can tell you that these are in the top 95% tile of people whose language skills are strong. I'm sure I've got a few more consultants who are not around, they're on vacation during that period, but they are in the 1 percentile. But then after that, you go down below that, then it's like, even I sometimes find that I need to talk to my consultant to go back and talk to my partner or my client, because I have no idea if the person understood. I don't feel that they've understood. That happens because we speak in English, and they may not understand our English. And this is something that's always a language barrier.
Right. Would your business development people be more B2B or B2C, or they cover the whole spectrum?
We've got both. So we've got people working in digital marketing. We've got people that do only elite brands, like if you're not Fortune 100, then they don't touch you. Okay, they don't do the market research for that. So we work with them because it's a side favor, and they are going to give us the research that they've done, that they do research that is done, then they cut it down. So if you happen to say, for example, if you're in the car space, then if they've done research for Caltex, then they can extract part of that into your space, right? Then it's cheaper. So that's something that we've asked them to work with us on this. So to make sure that all the startups or the SMEs that want to expand have very good value for money.
Okay, right. So Peter wants to know, after the landing pad trip, what is the typical cost for engaging a consultant?
Okay, so it depends on whether you want to do it part-time or full-time. If you want a consultant engage full-time, I think it's capped at about 30,000 Sing dollars a year. Okay. 50% covered by the government, reimbursable, subject to all that stuff. The good thing is that then you can dictate to this person. The bad thing we feel is that it's gonna be difficult to find the right one. Hiring the right person in Vietnam tends to be tricky. So we normally will tell you to go and do 2 or 3 consultants on a part-time basis to find out which is best, and then after that, tell us which one you don't want, and then we will politely tell them you're sacked, and then you go and do other things. I mean, other things, because they are all consultants. Obviously, I can't tell them to go and to go away. But I think it's important because if the person doesn't understand your industry, doesn't understand your value systems or doesn't understand your product, find it very difficult to sell. And I think they're all just a problem. They're all very eager to please. They all want to tell you that they understand, very eager. But you know, we're used to that. We sense that you don't understand, then we rather you, I don't know, but I rather you just tell me you don't understand. Let me try another way to explain. But all our consultants tend to be very direct. If you're wrong, to try to tell you you're wrong. I'd rather you tell me I'm wrong and try to tell me I'm right, but actually too polite to tell me I'm wrong. All right. So I have that. So I think they are going to be very direct, and I think that could be something of an advantage from my perspective, but maybe a disadvantage from your perspective. So chemistry is also important. Yeah. So I hope that sort of answers your question.
Are these consultants like freelance consultants, or they have their own companies?
Some of them have their own companies. Some of them are working full time for other people. Some of them are just VC or consultant that retired, then very rich, sold off their company. So it depends on what space you're in. So for give an example, one of the companies that's going up with us is doing Web3, metaverse, in the metaverse space. So they have some BD consultants that are in that space, and they're totally useless outside that space. Well, I would say totally useless. There are other spaces that's there, but if you go ask that, hey, I want to do a hotel property business, then they're useless for you because their expertise is not in that space. So if their expertise is not in that space, they're just as good as you or me doing BD. So why are we paying them for that? So if they don't have the ability to sell to you that they have the connections, they have the access, then it gets very difficult for us to trust anything, right? Because you're not showing me. So I think that's something that we will be always going to the consultant and says, okay, tell me why you think that you're the right person. And our consultants have been very direct to say that no, sometimes this is not my space, I can't do this. Some places I can do this. And sometimes they actually can, because they have a lot of experience for one reason or another. And then they have lots of context. So yeah, so that would be a different people, different strokes. You have to actually see individually. Correct.
Okay. You have an example of a Singapore company that has gone through some steps and done quite well in Vietnam, just to case study.
Okay, so obviously Grab has done quite well, but because they're so Grab, Keppel, all these, right, got money. Once you have money, you will hire and fire enough people. So let's look at this Lala Move equivalent called GoGoX, right? Delivery. So we spoke to GoGoX because the GoGoX HR person and I shared a panel together. I mean, we're talking about Vietnam. This is one of the most problematic places, but we're doing okay. I said, what do you mean problematic, but they're still doing okay? So it's like, we actually go through the first thing. They took 6 hires to 8 hires, I can't remember, until they found the right GM. Once you got the right GM, things work well. This is what is the most problematic job, BD. Because there is no way you hire a person and you can evaluate a person's effective or not. And that's the truth. And they are a very large Hong Kong company. They're doing very well. They run their own systems and everything, right? So this is where it is not simple to actually enter. We've got people, and sometimes you're too early in the market. It can happen. We spoke to one Keppel subsidiary in the maritime space, and they said, we want for that. I said, yeah, but you're premium. You are like 5-star, and right now the shipbuilding and maritime industry in Vietnam is always big and it's growing. They're all like 2-star, as cheap as they can go. So you're not the right fit for them. But if you engage us on a commission-only basis, then we will keep a lookout for you for when a billionaire son actually understands that he wants to build a big shipping empire and wants to work with a partner. Then that's maybe something that's a start of a good conversation for you to be a strategic partner for them, right? But we'll keep a lookout. But right now, you ask us, everyone tells you seriously, they're only doing fishing boats. So it could not be the right fit. It may be too early, right? The other thing that you will find invariably is actually opportunities that you have to be on the ground. But you don't have to go everywhere in Vietnam. Once you understand enough of it and you concentrate, I would say, in South Vietnam, because most of us are small companies. Initially, it's very good to do in South Vietnam, but once you have to interact with the government or large corporations, you may have to go to Hanoi. Okay, so that's why this trip is focused basically because our startups and our companies are all small. And in the Web3 space, they're all very open in Ho Chi Minh. But this does not mean that you can only limit yourself to Ho Chi Minh. There's always opportunities, whether you need to know how to actually craft these opportunities or not. It's a very huge country. Give example, I mean, those of us who have been to China will tell you that there's no need for you to dominate China. No one can. At best, a consultant masters 1 to 2 cities maximum. Beyond that, everyone says, I know 5 cities, it's a liar. Just assure yourself that this person lies to you. There's no way, okay? Because there's too many Guanxi that they need to build connections, understand the ecosystem, get in touch with everything. It doesn't happen that easily. So previously, I say I'm familiar with 3 countries, but what I mean by familiar is that I've got in-country BD consultants of very, very experienced status, extensive, but inside the city. You take one person out from Shanghai to bring him to, say, Shantou, useless. Like I said, I don't know anybody. I mean, I know customers, but I don't know anybody. So it's not so specific. So it's probably not that useful. So this is something that, you know, in terms of the space in the market. Yeah.
Is there a very vibrant Singapore community in Vietnam already?
Yes and no. The Singapore community there is very vibrant because Singaporeans hang around. But then after that, they realized that we will all talk about Singapore, then they stop hanging around. Secondly, the Singapore community, if they're not long-term there, like you say, you go to the Chamber of Commerce, you get the more formal ones. If they're more kosher and legit, that means they actually advise you properly. If you go to some of the startups, and then they may advise you wrongly. So for example, a startup offered to meet me in a coffee shop in the red light district. And I didn't know it was a red light district. I just know it's Japanese Quarter. So my partner on the ground, one of the consultants said, why are we meeting here? I said, I don't know. He said, here lah, you got very good cafe ma. You know, like you tell me this cafe very good, I'll say I'm open to it. He said, okay, no Vietnamese, because he's actually Caucasian. He said, no Vietnamese will meet you here, because this is a red light district. It's actually wrong for business. I didn't know that. Because I mean, first, what do you mean by wrong for business? And then if I'm open, why shouldn't you be open? No, it's not wrong. They don't want to be seen here. So there's something for us to actually think about. It's only after I went there I understand. And this is a Japanese Quarter. That means there are all the bars, all the vices that's there at night. By breakfast or close, I didn't see it, right? So I think this is something that why we wanted to do a tour for people is also to understand how you can structure and how you can see what can actually happen when you want to do it. So we'll tell you, you want to go to a good place, a good quality one is Starbucks, Paul, Runam. Runam is everywhere, so go Runam. Don't go anywhere else. I mean, you will find it Runam, right? And Runam is great coffee, Vietnamese brand, wonderful. So you'll be comfortable there as a Singaporean. Then you will say that, well, what about my Vietnamese friend want to eat something from a roadside stall? Then ask them recommend because you're not Vietnamese. What you recommend to a Vietnamese what to eat, right? So you ask the Vietnamese to recommend for you. And they'll bring you to a nice place. It's just that you got to get used to the fact it's a roadside store. And it's very cheap. The best pho I had was the last trip I went like only 50 meters from my door, crowded because we went too late. All the KTV crowd come all gather there. So all the Singaporeans there, because after they went KTV girl, the way they dress, they're all KTV girls. So we actually just dressed in slippers and shorts because we just came out from our place. It's crowded, so we had to wait, right? But yeah, I mean, you gotta know the food is only $152. That's it. It's very, very cheap. You don't have to be expensive to live there, right? I got Radia, right? Which comfortables are you most comfortable with? What industry are you in? Perhaps that might be better that help me guide. I'm actually very comfortable. I'm a generalist, so I'm comfortable in many, but not shall we say? Actually, I don't know which one I'm not comfortable with. Marine, I will say marine. I'm not comfortable with. Yeah, but most of these I'm quite comfortable with. But I'm a generalist, so I cannot say that I specialize in this or that. Yeah. So Radia, which industry are you in?
Hi, Ethan. Thank you for sharing. Well, I am the person that was asking the question. We are actually in automation, and the automation that we are providing is actually food processing machine that is specific for Asian produce. So
Right.
that is the area that we're in, and that's why, thank you for sharing that you are actually an investment arm of Walmart, because we are currently starting off from Singapore. Our automation is specific to the bean sprout industry. Yes. We chose that industry.
One of my favorite
Yes.
food, bean sprouts.
Thank you. Not. It's a very divine. It's there's a 50% chance that you like it, or 50% chance that you don't like it. So, yeah, it's somewhere in the middle. Okay. So, yeah, but the industry is fascinating because it's the most stable and staple industry across Southeast Asia and also India and parts of China. And we are providing automation for processing of bean sprouts. So that's the area that we're in. We are not really venturing out yet from Singapore. We have just started, but we are looking on what's the best way forward. And I think you mentioned some, options in terms of business development. Yeah.
Okay, so in terms of that, I mean, this is general for everybody who's still listening in, right? So we still haven't, I don't know the specifics. In terms of that, there is a lot of food-based companies as well as agriculture-based companies. Agri-tech is very big in, that means downstream processing, right? So after you produce something, then you got downstream processing. So it's actually very big. I think one of our clients is actually the largest agricultural products firm in Vietnam. Let's put it this way. The NUS blocks and A1 to one small office. My client is 3 stories up to the entire floor. And that's only 700 people in the HQ. They have 15,000 people in the whole of Vietnam. Okay. Downside is that only 7 of them speak English. So things move very slowly over there. But especially a joint stock company, it's a government-owned joint stock company, right? So it's possible. I'm saying there are possibilities. The CEO actually used to run Starbucks and Nescafe Vietnam. So yeah, so in terms of food, I mean, in terms of something like that, we can actually create the access to ask him about what else we can do and then see what other thing I recommend. We also have consultants in the food business, but it depends on how upstream or downstream you are at from where they are at. And that's something you need to understand.
Right. Understand. And yeah, and the reason why I was asking, is there any other dates that you're thinking of? Because I have private engagement on the dates that you're on.
Right, no, so no worries. We understand that, and as you notice, we actually were promoting this a while back with Andy's other favorite cousin. Sorry, that's just joking. But just that I think one of the things that we do is that if we can discuss it, and if there are other dates, we'll let you know. Or if we happen to be there, then we just say okay, because you're only looking for something very specific. So a lot of things, like for example, going to Vietnam Startup Foundation may not necessarily be a good fit. I'm not saying it won't, because there's people in the food tech space. But yeah, so you might want to let us know, and then we can see how we can actually dovetail together, and then we can see if we can run a program like that with you, and then get it funded under the MRA.
Sure, thank you so much. And I think, how best could I connect with you for future?
You just work with Andy and Benjamin. Yeah. We are partners in this one, and this goes to Peter as well. Because I think we want to integrate more tightly with IES INCA. I think one of the great things about IES INCA is that most of the people have got tech, right? You guys got machine, you're in this kind of space. If you go to other startup ecosystems, they got idea, like the people at the old, where's that? Dhoby Ghaut. The University at Dhoby Ghaut. I cannot name names, but you know what I mean.
Very discreet.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, they don't have an engineering faculty, right? So where's technology going to come from? So they can only do business model innovation, right? And that's going to be very tricky. Yeah.
Okay. But thank you so much. All right.
But Benjamin and Andy, I mean, if you reach out to Radia and then I reach out to Peter, I think we can see how we can work with you on that. On not necessarily just dovetail and force you to get onto the plane for this trip, but really how we can actually interact. And if it's more specific, and that's why the MRA program is very useful. If you have a strategy, and if you don't have, you almost got a skeleton of one. We can help you craft one. The government pays for a lot of stuff. Trust me. Okay. The government likes to people who understands it, and because Eric and I are ex-government, Singapore government, in terms of investment promotion, we understand the ins and outs of how this should be structured. Not to get you the money, but to get you to do it right, and then get government to fund you 50%.
Yes.